I saw him bring students to tears, especially females. Tears. Hey, Steak Man, excuse me. Steak Man, would you go ahead and get Jack off the website from last night, just in case he doesn't get back to me?
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Our center plays 25 minutes and grabs one rebound again against Ole Miss, we'll be in trouble. We have to be a team rebounding. You know, Tyrone did that. You know, Michael got in foul trouble, but Mike, that's one thing we don't have to worry about with him. He's going to get on the glass. Mendogas gave us some energy, but he didn't rebound on the defensive end the way he needed to.
Well, the Gamecocks somehow managed to survive a night in which they were beaten on the board, something that doesn't happen very often to them, especially on the defensive boards where they gave up 15 offensive rebounds. But they made shots. They shot 45%, and Thornwell hit a career-high tying 4 threes, and he had 18 points, highest point outage for him this season in a win. Had 20 points in a loss to Kentucky. If Thornwell continues to score for them, you know, this could be a situation where a guy gets hot and kind of puts a team on its back. And I think Thornwell is the one guy offensively who can do that for the Gamecocks as they prepare to take on an Ole Miss team that beat them pretty soundly in Oxford in the second game of the SEC season. And we'll see if the Gamecocks can extract some revenge tonight and move on to the quarterfinal round. You know, last night was the play-in round. Tonight and today and tonight, it's the get-by round. The actual tournament begins tomorrow when you get to the quarterfinals. So today here in Nashville, Florida and Auburn have gotten by, and they're into the tournament now. And how about Auburn? They won last night. They came out and beat Texas A&M just a little while ago, wrapping that game up here at Bridgestone Arena. A final score of 66-59. They had plenty of juice in the legs, plenty of energy, guys, and the question is, will the Gamecocks have the same tonight when they take on Ole Miss?
I don't see why not. It's just the second game, and it's not like they have to come back early. They'll play pretty much the same time that they did, so they'll have a 24 hours. The Thornwell I saw for the last night was the Thornwell I saw at the end of the Iowa State game, because he's tall enough to get himself inside, but adroit enough to find other people open, and he can be a scorer and facilitator down the stretch because of his ability to get inside and finish. And that's what I saw last night. And his stroke helped him get to the goal because they were honoring that three-point shot, and so he could utilize the pump fake. And the fascinating thing about it is that everything I told South Carolina to do in order to win, they didn't do it. Ty Johnson stunk up the joint with his shooting. They didn't rebound, but they had 20 points off turnover.
Yeah. Missouri's a bad basketball team. They better play a lot better tonight, and that might be good. I mean, the Gamecocks didn't play their best game, Corn, and they still found a way to win.
There goes K-Mac, not giving the Gamecocks any credit. Only one because Missouri stinks.
They do stink. Worst team in the SEC.
We'll be back. Got a lot of stuff coming up. Don't go away.
for you guys tonight? We just lost a little control in the 5th inning there. I think that was the one.
We got a huge program for you tonight. Phil Kornblut in Nashville, K-Mac back from Greensboro in Columbia, along with the pro and the steak man. Coming up in just a moment, Frank Martin from last night. We'll also hear from some Gamecock players coming up. USC baseball coach Chad Holbrook at the bottom of the hour. We'll also hear tonight from Clemson football defensive coordinator Brent Venables. USC spring depth chart is out. We'll go over that. Connor Mitch is listed alone as the number 1 quarterback, so we'll get into that. We'll have some recruiting for you as well. Quick update on some other basketball in the ACC. How about North Carolina? Flexed those old Tobacco Road muscles in Greensboro, knocked off Louisville 70-60. Earlier today, Virginia had a big lead on Florida State. Florida State scrapped and clawed its way back into it, but it wasn't enough as Virginia comes away with the win over the Seminoles to advance to the semifinals. Now, the ACC, remember, is a day ahead of the SEC. Virginia won 58-44. They're holding their quarterfinals today, semifinals tomorrow, championship game on Saturday night. Florida beat Alabama here earlier, 69-61, and Dorian Finney-Smith, 23-11 for Florida. Levi Randolph, 15 points for Alabama. Michigan beat Illinois in the Big Ten 73-55. Villanova beat Marquette in the Big East 84-49. Baylor in the Big 12 over West Virginia 80-70. In the Big Ten, Penn State, another shocker, 67-58 over Iowa. In the Big East, Providence over St. John's 74-57. In the Pac-12, Arizona over Cal 73-51. At 10, VCU 63, Fordham 57. And we'll drop in more scores as we move along. But right now, last night late, after South Carolina had knocked off Missouri in their opening game of the SEC tournament for the Gamecocks, Frank Martin talked to and took questions from the media.
Typical postseason game where neither team refuses to give in. I knew Missouri was playing a lot better here coming down the stretch, and I knew they were going to play their hearts out. Wasn't one of our most fluid games, but we fought, we competed. We didn't rebound at all today. That's something we got to fix, and we have all year, so it's not like it's a recurring problem. But we got to fix that today. But, like I told the guys in the locker room, we've been in that same situation many times in conference play. And instead of protecting the lead, we figured out a way to give it away. And Missouri fought back, and every time they kind of closed the gap, somebody would step up and make a play offensively, make a play defensively to give us life.
Frank, same question. Ty wasn't finding his shot early, but he still had the courage to go in there late and get that layup. Just what were you telling him during the game, and did you say, I still trust you to take a big shot?
I didn't have to tell him anything. He's the one that kept coming in the timeouts, and I think it was Mike who answered the question. Said he's a senior. He understands that he doesn't have too many of these left, and he was very positive. Guys are going to miss shots. That's never bothered me. I like it a lot more when they make shots, but that's never bothered me. He stayed in tune with what our team was trying to run, We had 17 assists on 21 baskets, I think. And that goes back to your point guard. And defensively, we were rock solid again. We defended pretty good. Outside of a little stretch in the second half there, we defended real well. And Ty was responsible and grabbed 7 rebounds. Ty was fine. I mean, I'd been a lot better if he would have made some of those shots he missed, but it is what it is. It's he's grown up a lot, and he kept us in the right place mentally during timeouts. And actually, he was complimenting his teammates for continuing to pick him up. That's what he kept doing in the timeouts.
Question on the right side.
Thank you. After going through those games where you had leads and you lost them and you lost the games, now you're kind of closing people out. What is different with you guys right now in holding leads and finishing off games?
Mentally, we're in a good place right now. We've started worrying about all the things that matter and not the things that don't matter. Guys have stayed very positive through difficult times of difficult games, and we had to learn. I think the success, and I could be wrong, the success we had in non-conference play, we didn't have guys that understand how to manage that. And when we lost a couple of league games early, we had guys started pressing. And I didn't do a very good job early in the conference season either in helping them through that. I expected to manage that. And I think our staff got better as the conference season went on. And I think because of that, our players got better. And, that's why that Arkansas loss, and that's over, but it's disappointing because we had started to learn how to manage that moment, and we didn't that game. And but you know what? We've won 2 in a row, 3 of our last 4. And you don't do that against league opponents unless guys are in the right place mentally, and our guys are right now.
Let's go to the left side.
Yeah, Frank, with Williams and Wright, both who have a propensity for scoring, were they just off tonight, or was your defense that good?
Wright missed some shots. Williams missed some shots. Just like Tyrone missed some shots for us. It happens sometimes. I thought defensively our principles were good. I thought we did a pretty good job of disrupting their offensive flow, which is not allowing guys to catch the ball where they wanted to catch it. What they hurt us with was ball screens. Our ball screen defense today, I've been mad at our ball screen defense all year on our bigs. Today our guards didn't handle the ball screen defense very well. But, we'll clip that up, show it on film, because we will get ball screened a lot against Ole Miss. So we're going to show that on film tonight and tomorrow and talk about it and late in the year. But it's those guys are good players. They're young. One's a freshman, one's a sophomore, and I thought defensively we just never let Williams catch it in the elbows. When he catches it in the elbows, he's a major problem. We never really allowed him to catch it there. We never allowed Wright, outside of early in the game, to kind of step in to a rhythm 3. Everything was off the dribble, and that's what we try to make people do. And then our zone, when we went zone, I thought we were alert. We knew where Wright was at all times.
Question down front.
Frank, you played Ole Miss second game in conference. Have you watched them since? Have you been able to see how they've changed since that game, and what kind of dangers do they present tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't watch other teams in the league after we play them, unless we play them again. But there's certain teams in the league, because of my relationship with the coaches, that if I can, I'll peek at their games, and they've played real good. They've grown so much as the season's gone on. I know they lost a tough one at home to close out the season against Vanderbilt, but Stephon Moody's an explosive player. I mean, he can put 25 on the board before you blink, and Andy's got depth. He's got a plethora of 6'9" guys that can all touch the scoreboard. So scoring at the rim gets hard against their zone. And we'll get ready to face the zone again. So we have to be good offensively, and we're going to have to make some shots, which is something when we played down there we didn't do. We didn't make shots, and defensively, I told the guys in the locker room it's the worst conference defensive game we played all year. But that they had a lot to do with that because of their athleticism and their shot making abilities.
Question on the right.
your defensive rebounding tomorrow night in particular? How much better do you have to be if you're going to win that game?
Yeah, a lot better, Phil. It's we got no chance if our center plays 25 minutes and grabs one rebound again against Ole Miss, we'll be in trouble. We have to be a team rebound. Tyrone did that. Michael got in foul trouble, but Mike. That's one thing we don't have to worry about with him. He's going to get on the glass. Mendogas gave us some energy, but he didn't rebound on the defensive end.
Yeah, I would bet you that Hakavicius will get more than one rebound tonight. In fact, I'll put K-Mac's salary on that point. We'll be right back.
Mike,
Continue with our coverage of USC's win over Missouri from last night as the Gamecocks prepare to take on Ole Miss. Had a couple of players front and center with the media last night. Darius Thornwell, who had 18 points. Michael Carrera, who had 12 points and 6 rebounds. And Carrera was asked about a charge that he took during the game that was critical to the Gamecocks maintaining the lead.
I was trying to play really smart. I was trying to, give my teammates a little bit of life because they were coming in and run. And, that's a bit – I've been thinking Chargers and, doing the extra things the whole year. That's what I do. That's why I play the game. That's how I play the game.
Other questions for either of the student athletes? Let's go to the right side.
Darius, 18 points for you tonight. That's your high in a win this year. And hitting the threes, just were you feeling good with your shot from the very beginning tonight?
Yeah. Just from I've been in the gym working. So just my teammates helped me get through the slump all season. And I just knew coming into the tournament, just let everything go and just give it my all every game. And luckily tonight, it was me the one that caught the hot hand. Tomorrow it could be somebody else. So I think my teammates were finding me, and that's it.
Okay, let's go ahead, and then we'll go to the second row right behind you. Go ahead.
For both of you guys, Ty didn't have the best night, but I think when the game got to 3 points, he drove and that finger roll for the three-point play. Just what were you guys telling him during the game when his shots weren't going?
Michael, did you take that first?
Yeah, I think he's a senior. He know what to do. He's the leader of the team. He know his job, and that's he have been doing that the whole year. And we trust him. He's a great senior, and we playing for him, and he know what to do.
Sendarius?
We just try to be there for him, knowing he had a bad game, and we just try to keep him up, keep him going. And it just shows with him having a slump that our team is not based around one person. Anybody can have a good night, any game. So we just try to be there for him and make sure he's good for the next game.
Any question on the left side?
For both players, you guys have won 5 of the last 9, and you got to feel pretty good. Or, I mean, do you feel like this team has a chance to maybe raise some eyebrows and do some big things here?
Michael?
Yeah, definitely. That's what we work for. We've been working really, really, really hard the whole year. We got ups and downs, but I think it's time to show up and see and show what we got.
Sendarius?
Yeah, most definitely. We feel like we can come in and compete and have a chance to win these games coming up. We're just trying to take it one game at a time. We're not looking forward, looking past anybody. We got Ole Miss next, and that's what's on our mind right now.
And for the record, no reporter asked Carrera if he were hungry for a taco during the game, as Dave Neal suggested going into a timeout. We'll hit a break. We have Chad Holbrook coming up here on Sports Talk. We'll be right back. we are in Nashville. We're at Bridgestone Arena. Coming up, it's Vanderbilt and Tennessee. Hey, a great way to have a game to kick off the evening session. Two bitter rivals, Tennessee and Vanderbilt. And this Vanderbilt team up and coming, a young squad that has gotten better. Tennessee's had some high moments. They've had some low moments. They lost to South Carolina their last time out, so should be an interesting matchup. And then after that, of course, it's the Gamecocks, and it is going to be Ole Miss. Now, the Gamecock baseball team, red hot now as they begin SEC play this weekend against Kentucky, and we welcome in Gamecock head coach Chad Holbrook to Sports Talk. So good to have you with us, first of all. Let me ask you now, you guys have gotten on a roll since the Clemson weekend. You haven't lost. Fool's gold, or are you really playing a high level of baseball where you want to be going into SEC play?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. We've won our last 7 games, and we've done some good things. I don't know if we're certainly no juggernaut at this time, but we're a good, solid team, and I think we're getting better. We certainly have improved upon our performance from that Monday Clemson game at Carolina Stadium. I do think we've gotten better. Our kids have worked hard, and we're playing well. We had a good performance last night, in which we swung the bats really well, and I think more than anything that gives us a boost of confidence heading into SEC play. But the SEC, that'll be the true measure of whether you're playing a high level of baseball or not, and we'll soon find out.
Yeah. You're not hitting for particularly high average right now, 274, but in the long ball, you got 13 home runs. That's basically double what Kentucky has coming in, and Kentucky normally has a pretty good amount of power. What about the power in your lineup? Is this something you can foresee continuing as you go into league play?
Well, I mean, we got some big, strong guys. I think, in the middle of our lineup, they can hit the ball out of the park. To be honest with you, I don't think we do have some home runs. I think those guys can get better. I think they can improve upon their numbers, and it was great to see, Kyle Martin hit the ball with authority last night. Max Schrock hit a long home run. Alex Destino hit a ball off the top of the wall, hit it really hard. So, the middle of our lineup guys are big, strong, formidable, and they can make a mistake. They can hit the ball out of the park, and we just need those guys to be a little bit more consistent offensively. And if they are, I think we have a chance to be a really good offensive team, and I think you'll see our average increase. But we'll see. We're getting ready to face a lot better caliber of pitching as well. So we're going to have to have a little bit more heightened awareness, concentrate a lot more, compete a little bit harder because the competition is certainly going to increase starting tomorrow night.
Talking with Chad Holbrook, USC baseball coach. Looking at your probable lineup as listed here by Andrew Kiddick for tomorrow night. You've got Schrock in left field. You've got Mooney at second. You've got Gore at short. Is that the way you will go? And if so, why the decision to keep Schrock out in left field?
Well, Max has it was more, it wasn't anything that Max has or hasn't done. It was the decision to play Marcus and Jordan beside each other. I think, as we sit here right now, are two of our best middle infielders. They're elite level defenders, and I think they can play defense with anybody. And get those two guys on the field at the same time, I think makes a better defensive team. And we always want to try to put our best defensive team on the field. That being said, we like Max in the infield. He's certainly a really, really good second baseman. He made a few errors this year, probably because he kind of took his offensive struggles out on the field with him from time to time. But he's in a good place right now. He had 3 hits last night, and he's getting more and more comfortable in left field. And while he will continue to be an infielder at certain points of the year, tomorrow night I'll just start him in left because, one, he's comfortable. 2, he's, had 3 hits last night, so he's feeling good about himself. And to be honest with you, I like his speed out there. The kid can really, really run.
Mm-hmm. You said some of the same stuff about Max last night after the game. I was listening to your post-game comments, and you really delved into him being in a good place mentally. Is he a kid that needs a lot of emotional support, a lot of pat on the backs, a lot of encouragement? Is he one of those guys that just needs a hug every once in a while just to feel good about himself?
No, he's really not that type of kid. He's more of a kid that he puts a lot of pressure on himself to do well. He wants to do well so badly that sometimes he just tries too hard, and sometimes that can work against you in the sport of baseball. And that's what I meant by my comment. He's not a high maintenance kid at all. He's very emotionally mature kid. He tries so hard. He puts so much pressure on himself, and when he was in his had a few struggles early in the year, he was trying to get 2 hits in 1 at bat, and you can't do that. So it was more of that than it was. He's certainly he's one of my more mature kids, to be honest with you.
Now, you're sticking with your rotation that you've had the last few weeks. I was a little surprised that you guys didn't decide to put Wynkoop back in the Friday role because he's pitched so well here of late and maybe would give you the best chance to get off to a winning start in the series. What was the thinking to going into staying with Crow starting on Friday and Wynkoop on Saturday?
Well, they've both, I think if you look at their starts, each of them has had one, probably subpar start. Jack had a subpar start against College of Charleston, and Will didn't throw well at Clemson. But outside of that, their numbers are almost. You take away their one bad start, they're tit for tat, and they've both thrown the ball well. And just to keep them all on the same schedule, I said from the get-go, I think I have 2 Friday night guys, and that's the way I feel. And I feel good about giving Will the ball on Friday night. And if we do well, I feel good about Jack trying to win the series on Saturday. If we don't do well, I feel good about Jack Wynkoop evening things up. There's a lot of coaches out there that believe the Saturday game is the most important game of the series. I'm not smart enough to figure that part of it out, but I do know that I feel good any time that we're able to give the ball to Jack and Will.
Yeah, I see where you crossed the 100-win mark at South Carolina with the win on Tuesday night. I mean, at this pace, you'll be hitting 1,000 pretty soon.
I doubt I'll be around for that 1,000. My wife said something about that, and I said, "Oh Lord, that's 18 years. I don't know if I'll make it that long. I'm just going to try to win one. I said I'm just going to try to win 101, and now we won 101. Maybe let's worry about Friday night. But we've been lucky to coach some good players, and that's not much of a milestone in college baseball. It's and this program's all about the players. I'm just trying to win our next game and put our players in a good spot so we can maybe accomplish some of the goals we set forth.
Well, it's good to have SEC baseball play here. Good luck to you this weekend, and we will look forward to following you guys over the weekend and catch up with you again real soon, Coach. Thanks for the time as always.
Okay, Phil. Have fun in Nashville, and thanks for having me.
You got it, sir. Thank you very much. In fact, I'm having dinner with Tim Corey. Take a look at his national championship trophy. That was a joke. Thank you, Chad Holbrook, for being with us. Well, Chad's got 2 of them, and Tim's only got 1. Of course, Ray Tanner would say those 2 are actually his, and he lets Holbrook just borrow them from time to time. So I have a feeling eventually Chad will get one of his own to stick in the trophy case there at South Carolina. All right, that's Chad Holbrook joining us here tonight. South Carolina and Kentucky. They begin their series tomorrow night, Carolina Stadium, 7 o'clock. Then 4 o'clock on Saturday and 1:30 on Sunday. This Kentucky team, they're 13-3. They've won 11 in a row. They have a starting rotation of right-hander Zach Brown, 1-1, 1 point. Right-hander Kyle Cody, 2-1, 3.43. And right-hander Dustin Beggs, 2-1, 2.59. Team batting average of .312. So they swing the bats pretty well. 26 doubles, 4 triples, and 7 home runs by the Wildcats. And they'll steal a base. They've got 24 stolen bases in 31 attempts. A pitching staff ERA of 3.21, but the Gamecocks at 2.19. We'll be right back. Thanks again to Chad Holbrook for joining us here on Sports Talk tonight. We're going to stray away from basketball once again because USC will open spring football on Tuesday, March 17th, and they have printed out their spring guide and put it on their website, and part of their spring guide includes their preseason depth chart. So let's take a look at what the Gamecocks have. First at quarterback, listed number 1 by himself is Connor Mitch, backed up by Perry Orth, Michael Skarnecchia, and Brendan Nosovich. Mitch is listed at 6'3", 220. He's a big kid, 6'3", 220. So he's listed as your quarterback. Fullback, Garrison Gist and Clayton Stadnick. At tailback is Brandon Wiles, David Williams, Sean Carson, Devin Potter, Darius Polk, and Rod Talley. Last 3, of course, being walk-ons. Tight end, Jarrell Adams, Kevin Crosby, and Jacob August. Excited to see what Kevin Crosby could do. Very, very talented player in high school. Tackle is Brandon Shell, 6'6", 327, and DJ Park, 6'4", 302. The right guard is Will Sport, 6'5", 304, and Malik Young at 6'3", 223. Center is Alan Knott at 6'4", 268. And Donnell Stanley at 6'4", 336. And Justin Smith, 6'1", 329. So between Stanley at 336 and Park at 332, that would be 668 pounds of Dillon County boys there. That's some hefty stuff. Left guard, Cody Woodruff, 6'2", 309. Brock Stagnick, 6'4", 280. Left tackle, Mason Zandy, 6'9", 313. And Mike Matulis, 6'5", 293. I think Matulis is in like his 8th year at South Carolina.
After his 8th surgery.
Wide receiver, Shamir Jeffrey or Carlton Hurd or Terry Guger. Wide receiver, Pharaoh Cooper, backed up by Matrique Belton, Gerard Washington, and Sean Odom. A lot of unknowns among the wide receivers. The other receiver, Debo Samuel, backed up by Shaq Davidson and Christian Owens. To the defense, 1 defensive end, Gerald Dixon, backed up by Dexter Weidman, listed at 6'4", 302. Cedric Cooper and Devin Washington. Defensive tackle, Gerald Dixon Jr., 6'3", 325, backed up by Taylor Stallworth, Kelsey Griffin. Other defensive tackle, Philip Dukes, backed up by Abu Lamine, who's listed at 331. The other defensive end is Marquavius Lewis, junior college transfer, 6'3", 266, backed up by David Johnson and Darius English. Mike linebacker is Sky Moore, backed up by T.J. Holloman and Jalen Henry. Will linebacker is Jonathan Walton, backed up by Bryson Allen Williams, Ernest Hawkins, and Sherrod Pittman. The spur is Jordan Diggs, backed up by Lawrence Bryant and Cedric Malone. One corner is Chris Lamons, backed up by Wesley Green, Demetrius Smalls, and Shannon James. Maybe that should be Chris Lamons. I think they pronounce it Lamons. Lamons, Green, Smalls, and James. Strong safety, T.J. Gurley, Chaz Elder, Jasper Sasser, Benji Russell, D.J. Smith, Chris Moody, Jamari Smith, Allie Groves, and the other corner, Rico McWilliams, Al Harris Jr., Darren Smalls. Landon Ard and Elliott Fry kicking off. Fry and Ard place kicking. Sean Kelly, the punter. He's a transfer, walk-on. Kick return, Sean Carson. Punt return, Pharaoh Cooper. Long snapper, Drew Williams and Nick McGriff. And the holder, Sean Kelly, Landon Ard. There you go. K-Mac, your thoughts? This depth chart good enough to get the Gamecocks 10, 11 wins?
Is it good enough to get them 10 or 11 wins? I'm going to go ahead and say no, not good enough to get them 10 or 11 wins.
Mm-hmm. Who do you see beating them? Just off the top of your head, who would you project?
Off the top of my head, I would be concerned about LSU next season. That game would concern me. At Georgia would concern me next season. At Tennessee would concern me next season. What else would concern me next season? There's 3.
Clemson.
Well, yeah, Clemson? Certainly. Clemson at home would concern me. next season if the Tigers are healthy going into that matchup. So there's 4 games that are of concern. I'm not looking at their schedule right now. I'm just trying to go off the top of my head.
I mean,
And,
can Nick Schuessler come into Williams-Brice Stadium and beat the Gamecocks?
No, probably not. I don't think it's going to be Nick Schuessler, though. So.
That's Dabo. But my thing is, if they get good play from the lines of scrimmage, they have a chance to have a solid season, 8 or 9 wins.
Yeah, I can see 8 or 9. I can see 8 or 9 wins there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, time to give you tonight's recruiting report from Nashville. First of all, we begin on the football side of things. Defensive back Nigel Knott, 5'11", 175. Guess he really pops you. He puts a knot on your head. He's from Madison, Mississippi. Wrapped up a tour of schools in the Southeast yesterday with a stop at Clemson. Hasn't been offered by Clemson yet. He does have offers from the likes of LSU, Alabama, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Florida State, Miami, NC State, Michigan, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, UCLA, Southern Cal. He had to leave Clemson before their practice yesterday, but he did get a chance to tour the campus, met with an academic advisor, sat in on the team meeting. He liked the family atmosphere. That really stood out to him. And he does remain interested despite not having an offer yet. They told him he's a perfect fit for what they're looking for. He's aggressive and stuff like that. Told him to keep in touch. He also visited Tennessee, NC State, Duke, and North Carolina on the trip. And he also plans to visit TCU and Texas A&M. No favorites right now. 112 tackles, 4 interceptions, 16 passes broken up last year. Offensive lineman Jack DeFore of Calhoun, Georgia. Couldn't make it to Clemson's junior day last weekend, but he did get back to see the Tigers yesterday at their spring practice. He had also visited Clemson for the junior day in late January. And he talked with the coaches. He watched practice, thought it was a good practice, liked how everybody had a good attitude, enjoyed being there, enjoyed practicing. He said the coaches said they're really interested in him. They want him to come there. He also picked up an offer from Miami Wednesday. He also has Clemson, Illinois, Nebraska, Missouri, Michigan, Vanderbilt, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Ole Miss, and Cincinnati. He's going to take future visits to USC, Ole Miss, and Georgia. The Gamecocks have not yet offered, but they did invite him to their junior day in late January. Plans to visit USC on January 21st. Ooh, I have to stop for the national anthem. Take over.
Oh, 2 nights in a row. Old Glory comes through for us. Hopefully it'll be one of those really long Whitney Houston versions that'll take us all the way into next year before Corn can do another recruiting report.
Well,
Nothing. I mean, that's the one thing that can interrupt recruiting.
Yes. And a bomb dropping on you, if that's
No,
the case. But
you don't want any rockets bursting in the air.
Speaking of rockets glare, the Volunteers better watch out for Vanderbilt, because if their three-point shooting is on tonight, Rocky Top may be toned down tonight in Nashville.
Then we've got Duke and NC State minutes away from tipping off in Greensboro, where I feel like I didn't get the full ACC tournament experience thanks to Clemson's
and that's bad for you,
annual
because
early
it won't be in Greensboro for what?
5 more years, not till 2020.
Washington.
I have to take myself to D.C. and then Brooklyn.
And then back up to the Big Apple.
Yeah, Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. Top of the hour break. I know Corn's going to finish recruiting on the other side, and we'll update some basketball scores. Busy second hour sports talk coming your way.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back. National anthem is over. Game is underway. And Vanderbilt out early on Tennessee 3-0. With that said, let me wrap up the recruiting report. Had just a couple of other items to pass along. I was talking about Jack DeFore, the offensive lineman from Calhoun, Georgia, who was at Clemson yesterday. He's going to visit USC March 21st. Again, the Gamecocks have an offer. His top three right now, Clemson, Ole Miss, and Vanderbilt. He's not yet visited Ole Miss. Stanford Samuels III, defensive back, Pembroke Pines, Florida, offered by Clemson yesterday. Linebacker Trey Threet of Hoover, Alabama, who has a Clemson offer, was offered by Alabama today, and he was offered by Auburn earlier in the week. And in basketball, Malik Ellison, who we talked about last night, who at that time had 6 schools on his list. He's the 6'6" shooting guard, Purvis Ellison's son, USC on his list. Now says he's no longer just down to 6 schools. His recruiting is back open. So he's looking at more than the 6 that he had on his short list earlier. There you go. That is the complete recruiting report. Vanderbilt out early, 5-0 lead on Tennessee. Taking a look at Joe Lunardi's latest bracketology and a couple of the interesting items from our standpoint. He still has Coastal Carolina as a 15 seed, which will make Cliff Ellis happy, but he's moved them from Seattle over to Portland to play Arizona, a number 2 seed in the opening round. He's got Wofford still at 12, playing in Jacksonville, but now playing Wichita State. How about that one? How about a little Mike Young and Greg Marshall action? That would bring back some memories of their wars of the past from the Southern Conference and beyond. And let's see, what else looks interesting here. Ole Miss, USC's opponent tonight, he has moved down to an 11 seed, playing Georgetown in the opening round. Still has Kentucky, Virginia, Villanova, and Duke as the top seeds. He's got North Carolina as a 5. He's got Davidson as a 9, playing Ohio State. He's got North Carolina playing Boise State as a 5 seed. And let's see here, checking some of the other schools of interest. Kansas a 2 seed, Wisconsin's a 2 seed. He's got Louisville as a 4 seed. Nope, not sure what time. This is updated today. I'm not sure what time he updated this, if it was before that Louisville, North Carolina game or after. He's got Notre Dame as a 3 seed and LSU as a 10 seed. You know, right now I think they only have 3 SEC teams as a lock. Am I correct about that?
That's correct.
Kentucky, LSU,
and
Ole Miss.
Arkansas.
No, he's got Arkansas. He's got 4. And he got 4 SEC teams
That's why
in there as a lock.
That's why if you're Ole Miss, you may be playing to stay out of the last 4 out, because if you're an 11 seed, that means 1 foot is in your face, and Murray State is lurking there looking for an enlarged
they're in trouble.
bid.
I don't know if they're going to get in that loss in their tournament.
right, here at Nashville, Vanderbilt's out to a 10-7 lead on Tennessee about 5 minutes in. In Greensboro, Duke out to a quick lead on NC State. What's that score, guys?
7-3.
7-3.
9-3.
Duke over NC State. 9-3 Duke over NC State. Let me mention a couple of other major stories. The SEC announced today that Greg Sankey will be the 8th commissioner, replacing the retiring Mike Slive. Sankey will succeed Slive when he retires July 31st. And Sankey has been with the SEC for a number of years, helping to reshape the league's governance, enforcement, and compliance program. He's also directed the championship staff. He's active within the NCAA committee structure. That includes his current service on D1 Legislative Council, Committee on Academic Performance, and the NCAA Committee on Infractions, where he currently serves as chairman. Prior to joining the SEC staff, he was commissioner of the Southland Conference for nearly 7 years. Joined the Southland in '92 and later joined the SEC. Before all that, he was Director of Compliance and Academic Services at Northwestern State in Louisiana. He is a native of Auburn. Wonder how Alabama people feel about, it's Auburn, New York. I'm sorry, not Auburn, Alabama. He's a native of Auburn, New York. So he's a Yankee coming down here to run the, that's so typical. Hire a stinking Yankee to come down here and run the SEC.
What do you think Mike Slive was?
He was a Midwesterner, was he? He's Chicago, wasn't he? Part of that Chicago community organizing group up there. Isn't that what he was?
I don't know. I think he was an attorney.
He was.
Whatever he was.
I think he's got some New York in him as well. Murray Bartow fired as basketball. Murray Bartow fired as basketball coach at East Tennessee State, according to reports. He's been there since 2003, 2004, made the tournament in 04, 09, and 10. But they have backed up here in recent years, lost in the quarterfinals of the Southern Conference tournament.
Well, that brings
so that
up
job's open. Liberty is open. Citadel is open. Those are 3 jobs that are open.
You just brought up a question I wanted to ask you. Since they lost today, any kind of a murmur about Anthony Grant at this point?
Yeah. I mean, that was certainly something that's on everybody's mind, that he's only been to 1 NCAA tournament, 2 NITs at Alabama, not what they thought they would have after hiring him, after his quick ascension to the top of the coaching ladder at VCU. So we'll see. That would be a I don't know how Alabama fans feel about it. I think in basketball circles, firing him would not be met with approval, because I think he's still a highly regarded coach. For whatever reason, they're just not winning big at Alabama consistently right now. But he's still a highly regarded coach. The Gatorade Girls Basketball Player of the Year in South Carolina is Kiana Jeter from Spartanburg High School, 5'6" junior guard, 28 points, 7 rebounds, 5.5 steals, about 4 assists. Her team went 21-5 this year.
She's a
she was
junior?
Also the 4A Player of the Year by the Coach Association. Yeah, she's a junior.
Well, we know where Dawn Staley will be driving up to.
Yep. She's the kind of player that she'd like to have, the kind of player Clemson needs to kind of resurrect their women's program if they can get her. So we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, she still has another year to go. All right. We got some time to open up the phone lines. 800-956-7266 for those of you listening to us or watching us on our live video stream at sportstalksc.com. Your thoughts about the Gamecock depth chart, about the Gamecocks win last night, about the Gamecocks game coming up tonight. Thoughts on the opening of SEC baseball season. Thoughts about Clemson's baseball struggles right now. Jack Leggett, a little bit on the defensive right now, saying, hey, people, calm down. Everything's going to be fine with the baseball team, even though since they took 2 of 3 from the Gamecocks, they have gone south, losing 2 of 3 to NC State. Tell you one thing about Clemson. I got to go back and add this up. Their record the last 2-3 years in midweek games against non-USC or name teams like that, not very good. And that's really what's what's hurting Clemson right now in terms of the big picture in postseason is losing all these midweek games that they've been losing here of late. And lost one last night to Michigan State over at Fluor Field, a place where Clemson has lost 2 in a row after – I mean, they've got a great record at Fluor Field. Now they've lost 2 in a row. They lost to USC. They lost to Michigan State. So those games cannot be ignored when it comes to where you stand RPI-wise at the end of the season. And that's really hurting Clemson. It's going to hurt their chances of hosting a regional again this year unless they start lighting things up. They have Notre Dame coming in this weekend, and they're making a change in their pitching rotation. They're going to start Brody Kerner on Friday against Notre Dame in the hopes that Friday on Saturday. Oh, excuse me. They'll still start Crownover on Friday, but Kerner is going to start on Saturday, and then their Sunday starter will be the guy who's been started on Saturday, and that will be Zach Irwin. So it'll be Crownover, who's 3-0, 1.80, and almost guarantees Clemson an excellent chance to start a weekend series with a win. And then Kerner, 2-2, 4.18, and then Irwin, 1-2, 4.09. And that series comes up this weekend at Doug Kingsmore Stadium tomorrow at 6:30, Saturday at 2, Sunday at 1. Notre Dame is 12-3, 1-2 in the league. Clemson's 8-7, and 1-2 in the league as well. 800-956-7266. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. On Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Our website is sportstalksc.com, and on Facebook, Sports Talk Radio Network. Got some time for some calls. Love to hear from you on this Thursday night as we watch Tennessee and Vanderbilt tied up at 16 here in Nashville.
Well, Phil, you talked about Clemson, and we've heard 2 Gamecock coaches, Frank Martin and Chad Holbrook, both use the term state of mind. And I've always said, as using the coach's mentality, I'm always sort of worried when a team defeats an arch rival early in a season, and they put so much emotional investment into it. And how do they come out on the other side? And I guess Jack Leggett will say, well, no, we just played it as a game, but their performance after that 3-game series leads you to believe that maybe they did put a lot of emotional investment in that 3-game series with South Carolina and have come out and have not rejuvenated their juices yet.
Yeah, well, since then they've lost to Winthrop, midweek game at home, 5-4. Then they beat NC State. Then they lost 2 to NC State big, 8-3 and 14-6. Then they lose somewhat of a home game over at Fluor Field at Michigan State, 8-6. They've got 3 against Notre Dame this weekend. Then they go to Coastal to play on Tuesday at Coastal's new place. Coastal just hammered North Carolina at their park earlier this week, and you know they're going to be fired up for that game. Of course, neither team will use their frontline pitching to start. Then they have 3 at Virginia Tech, then a trip to Western Carolina. So they've got a chance here to build a pretty good start in ACC play, the NC State series notwithstanding, because they've got Notre Dame at their place. Notre Dame is very beatable. 3 at Virginia Tech and 3 with Wake Forest. Those are series where the Tigers, they should win 2 out of 3, maybe even sweep in some cases. Then they get North Carolina. Then they got to go up to Boston College. They got a chance here to build a pretty good start to ACC play, but rugged start there in Raleigh last weekend's already put them behind the 8 a little bit. But Jack is everybody just be patient, be calm, don't panic. They're going to be fine. He still feels like they're going to be fine here moving forward this season. All right, we're going to hit a break. 800-956-7266 is the number. We'll be right back. right, good ball game going on in front of us here in Nashville. Vanderbilt, Tennessee, locked up at 18, 9:18 to play in the first half. Meantime, in Greensboro, K-Mac, pretty much all Duke so far over NC State.
I love Duke. 22-9 over NC State. 22-11 now as the Pack hits a shot. So the Dukies have a comfortable lead with 12 minutes left in the first half.
Okay, looking at our Sports Talk SC Twitter timeline, a lot of people responding to someone who tweeted a factoid that last night Darren Horn experienced his first SEC tournament win of his career in connection with the Gamecocks. Is this a correct fact?
Yeah, that's a correct fact that we tweeted out. Darren Horn experienced his first Gamecock SEC tournament
Darren
win.
Horn live in peace. You're the one pain in his butt. You know what you are?
He built the
spur
I mean,
in his side.
maybe that's all part of his program building, that win last night, considering a grand total of 0 of those players were actually on his team.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
You don't think they maybe were inspired by the fact that he was in the audience along with Eric Hyman, with Eric Hyman there and Darren Horn?
You don't
awkward.
think
they were
There
inspired?
was a lot of awkward moments in that game last night involving people connected to South Carolina. And, Darren Horn and Eric Hyman, and then the taco comment from Dave Neal. I mean, what?
Now should Carrera be offended by that? First of all, I didn't realize, and I know that Dave Neal wasn't saying something pointed toward Carrera. I think he only said it because at the time he had it on his mind about Carrera. They went to a shot of a taco stand here at the arena, and he thought tacos, Carrera, I need a taco. But are tacos actually associated with Venezuela?
Well, I think the whole Latin America thing. I mean, Dave Neal's a first-class guy. I mean, we all know this as people that spend a good chunk of our lives talking into a microphone that's hot live, and you say some things that come out one way, and you realize how that could be perceived, and there's not a lot you could do. And he immediately said, "Oh, I could use a taco too." He wasn't doing it to be derogatory, but there are people out there that could say, "Hey, man, you're saying that about a Latin player that he needs a taco?" What?
Well, what happens is people don't understand that when you're in the broadcast business, your is on a swivel, and what you have to do is, if I'm the cameraman right there, if I'm worldly and I'm thinking, I'm not taking that shot. Because here's a shot. But see, he, unlike the director, he doesn't have the whole board of videos there.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know that the previous shot is going to be on Carrera. So they tell him, get a shot of one of the vendors, and he takes a shot of the taco stand.
It wasn't like a Fuzzy Zeller
Exactly.
situation, in Augusta, for crying out loud. But it did make for some interesting fodder on the Twitter deck last night.
Yeah. But nobody blew Neal up over it. None of the national pundits or anything like that.
No, nobody was watching that game.
No, Vanderbilt continues to look good in this one against Tennessee, 25-18. Vandy leading Tennessee. Give you a few details about how this game is playing out statistically. Vandy at 53% to Tennessee's 35%. Vandy's got 3 from 3. Tennessee's got 1. Vandy 6 of 8 from the line. A few turnovers, 3 and 2. 3 for Vandy. Rebounds 12 and 11. So Vandy just shooting it better than Tennessee. Yeah. 8 of 16 to Tennessee's 7 of 20. Balkman leads Tennessee with 7, and LaChance leads Vandy with 7. They got a good young team. You know, I was in Nashville when the Gamecocks played them there, and for much of that game, South Carolina had a big lead, remember?
Right.
And then Vandy came back, started shooting the lights out, and the Gamecocks couldn't stop them once they started rolling. So they're tall. Yeah, it's a Kevin Stallings team that is coming. You know, he's building this team. He's got tall players. He's got shooters. And probably next year, year after, they're going to be NCAA tournament contenders.
Yeah, he's rebuilt that team. Of course, he lost Jeter, one of the recruits he had. But, you know, I always look for irony.
You know who he beat for Jeter? You know who he beat for Jeter?
Yeah, he beat South Carolina for Jeter.
Yeah. And you know where Jeter is now?
He transferred, to Pittsburgh or somewhere? I don't know. Where did he
I think he's at Penn State. Is it Penn State?
I'm not
sure. He's from Pennsylvania. He's from Beaver Falls. And, he either ended up at Pitt or Penn State.
You want a bit of irony here? Notice their little three-point shooter, Riley LaChance, the freshman. He looks like a little boy out there. You noticed him, haven't you? That kid.
Well, I haven't been watching that closely, to be honest with you. I've been conducting a show.
That kid is a three-point specialist from the state of Wisconsin. When your buddy Coach Fogler was coaching Vanderbilt, he had a three-point shooter by the name of Frank Secker. Secker was from where? You guessed it, Wisconsin. So 20-something years later, they go back to Wisconsin and they find another three-point specialist.
Mm-hmm. And on cue, he just clanged one from 3. He's not going to make them all.
No.
I'll give you that. He's not going to make them all. Hey, did you know starting next year at Memorial Gym at Vanderbilt, they're going to allow the coaches to leave the end zone benches where they have to sit and come along the sideline and direct their teams from the sidelines starting next year.
Yeah, I heard that. And I think that's done because they were looking at some of the coaches in the SEC that's a little bit overweight. And for them to get a little bit of their exercise program in, they can do that walk to the long walk from the baseline to the sideline.
The Gamecock players will like that. They can sneak off to the bench and hide from Frank Martin so he can't find him and scream at him.
No, he'll turn from the sideline and yell all the way to the bench.
I've been waiting for guys to go in the opposite tunnel and all the way around to a bench to avoid the Frank Martin stare.
I still say, Frank, if you're listening to us,
I'm sure he is.
Don't change. Don't change. Don't listen to the haters. Do what you do. It's coming. You know, you're building. You're getting your kind of players.
He's changing his tune now, isn't he, Pro? Oh, boy, I tell you what, after that Kentucky game, you were, this program's not getting better. He ran off, guys. We got to talk about why he ran off some of these great players. Oh, hey, my goodness. He made mistakes.
I'm a bandwagon jumper. You know that. But I'll say this. I mean, and I was right in what I was saying at the time. They didn't look good. I still don't think they should go to Kentucky and get beat by 30-something points.
Because everybody's handed to Kentucky this year. They're 31-0.
I'll say this. There's been some close calls for Kentucky. They haven't beat everybody by 30 points. They've had some close calls, and I would think South Carolina could at least go in there and keep it to 15 or so.
They weren't at a good place. Where they are now, they could pull that off, but they weren't in a good mindset. Just like Vanderbilt stunk up the joint at the beginning of the year in non-conference, then those young players started to grow a beard and they started playing. Damon Jones especially, and then they got the chance in there to find out what he could do because he's so tiny. You'd have to suspect that he had to pick his spots how he could play the game because he was getting bumped around. But this Vandy team, as I said, outside of Kentucky, This is the hottest team in the SEC right now. Is Vanderbilt.
And back to what you were saying about Martin Corn, and look, I do think that he's got to be careful not to cross the line in terms of profanity when that goes out over the television. It's just that's going to get you in trouble in this day and age. And he is the poster boy for the animated, demonstrative coaches on the sideline. But all that being said, Gamecock fans especially, they know that this is who Frank Martin is. It's not like he just became this guy at South Carolina. This is what he was at Kansas State. In South Carolina, when they hired him, when Eric Hyman hired him and everybody, they knew that that's what he was, that that's what kind of coach he was, and that's what he did. You could have gone to YouTube in his Kansas State days and looked up Frank Martin, and you would have seen him staring down players, getting mad, screaming. I mean, that's just what he does. So why people are shocked now?
Well,
oh my goodness! Now he was winning 20 games a year there. Maybe that's why people notice a little more.
Here's the point. I mean, I have to understand that a lot of basketball fans are not addicted as I am to basketball and watching it all over the country. I remember the first time that when Bob Huggins left Kansas State and they said they were going to hire his assistant, Frank Martin, the first game I ever saw Kansas State play with Frank Martin on the sideline, I thought this guy was a maniac. I really did. The first time I saw him, and so it's been over the years, and it still kind of freaks me out that there's a lot of fans that still don't know that he was this way, because that was his signature. After a while, people said, look at that stare. And that was the key. In fact, if you looked at an old media guide from Kansas State, they have about 9 different pictures of him full-faced on the cover, and then on the cover of the media guide, the stare. I mean, they sold that stare in Manhattan, Kansas.
They did. And, I mean, look, he wasn't put on CBS to comment about the tournament before he came to South Carolina. I remember that transition, and he was on television. Because of his coaching acumen perhaps, but also that personality. They want that personality. They want to see that stare. They want to hear the bite coming from Frank Martin. And you're right, K-Mac, and we've talked about this before. It should be a surprise to no one the way he behaves on the sideline. No one should be shocked. They should not reel him in completely. Yes, the profanity. Yes, maybe some of the direct, harsh criticism publicly of players during games. Somewhat. I guess this day and age you just can't have it. But he's still got to be Frank Martin. He still has to stalk up and down the sidelines, yell at players, stare. Like Bobby Knight. I mean, he's a version of Bobby Knight of this era, and that's what without the physicality you would hope. They don't allow that today for sure. But that's what he is. Bobby Knight was as much a sideshow during his games for his antics as he was one of the great basketball minds of history.
Here's the difference. If you look at Roy Williams and Coach K, they will absolutely go ballistic sometime on the sideline. But guess what they don't have, which scares people? Size.
Yeah.
Bob Knight was a big, and still is a big man, about 6'5". Frank Martin is a big man. There's something about people looking at a little guy get upset and screaming versus a huge man getting up and screaming.
I think it's unfair. Bobby Knight would throw chairs out on the court, go after officials. Frank Martin, I think you can count
one time.
You can
it happened against the Russians, and that was okay.
Yeah, well, he was known to go after officials and break down. I mean, it was a completely different situation. Frank Martin goes after his players. He doesn't go after media. He doesn't go after officials and get a bunch of technicals and get kicked out of games. He's not this buffoon. He's just passionate with his players.
Bobby Knight was sending a message to Khrushchev with that chair that we were not to be.
Khrushchev was already dead.
Yeah, that wasn't against the Russians.
Oh. Okay, going to halftime here. Tennessee just hits the shot right before the break. 38-32. Vanderbilt leading Tennessee. Coming up after this one, last game of the day, South Carolina against Ole Miss. The Gamecocks' Ty Johnson had a tough night shooting. Made only one shot from the floor. It was a big one late in the game. And afterwards, he talked about his travails on the floor last night, shooting the basketball, and he hopes to recover from that and have a good performance tonight. Here he is talking with reporters after last night's win.
For you, but you still went in there and hit that key shot. I think when they cut it to three, just what was your mentality that the shots just weren't going down?
Like Coach got on me earlier about shots will fall. Worry about defense first, and my job was to still be aggressive. And like you said, the ball was going in for me today, but the ball was going in for Sandarius today, and like there was other guys that step up. And towards the end of the game, I told myself, I still got to be aggressive because I know that my confidence is still gonna be there, but just continue to be aggressive. And at that time, I made a good play. we had the and one, Mr. Free throw, but that was a turning point for us. And came down the stretch, we had one on our run, and we was able to, fight like grown men and keep the win.
Didn't seem like the interior was really open tonight. They were really shutting off the inside lanes. Just how can you guys get around that against a similar team in Ole Miss?
Depending on how Ole Miss plays. I know last time their press bothered us a little bit, but we wasn't prepared as far as the players, coaches wise. But we know what it takes, and I think, like Coach said to us earlier, we all think that was our worst game this year on the road. We didn't have no fight, we had no energy. Tomorrow is a different, test for us. It's another chance to play, and we got to come out and play with that passion and energy. And for myself, I'll be better tomorrow. But at the end of the day, the only thing that we can do is give our all and come out and play 40 minutes until the buzzer, and hopefully we come out with a win.
By the way, you're winning. You guys have a guaranteed winning season. What would that mean for you to be a senior on the team that finally broke this run of losing seasons?
That would mean a lot. This season been ups and downs, and been continue to fight. Coach continue to talk to us every day about be better the next day. Season didn't go as well as you planned, but at the end of the day, we still got another chance to play tomorrow, and that's all that matters. You playing every day, but just taking one game at a time, and to come out with a winner, victory. For me, that would be big for me because that's a turning point for our program. I think the last time we had to win a season, I think it was 2008 or something like that. But for me, just playing every day and just me happy with it.
The way you guys are closing out games now, these are games that in the past you'd lose the lead, lose the game. Now, the last few weeks, you guys have kind of figured out a way to close these games out.
I just think basically just comes down to us wanting to win and us wanting to continue to play. We've been inside this position before where we had better games than we did today, which we was up, but we will always lose the lead, and we have the guts or the fight to close it out, and we know what it takes now to close out wins, but we just got to take every possession, one step at a time, and every possession matters to us. So we just got, basically like a great opportunity tomorrow to play, and we're just excited.
You feel like you got to do a better job rebounding, though, especially on the defensive glass to have a chance against those guys?
Yes, we got to get on offense glass. Shots may fall, shots might not fall, but second chance points going to matter to us tomorrow. And they out-rebound just for the first game, and we got to do a better job together helping Mike out and everybody rebounding.
All right, Gamecock guard Ty Johnson, he was 1 of 8 from the floor, 0 for 4 from 3 last night, 1 for 3 from the line. He did have, you give a guy credit when he's not scoring, not shooting well. He didn't give up on the game. He had 7 rebounds and 4 assists. He led the team in rebounding, believe it or not, had more rebounds than any of the bigs. He had 7 rebounds last night. McCavish's, of course, and sticks out like a sore thumb the fact that in 23 minutes your center had 1 rebound. That's got to change tonight. Ole Miss, of course, a veteran team. They start 5 seniors, including the Columbia native M.J. Rhett, son of Joe Rhett. And they're going to play a lot of zone against the Gamecocks tonight. So, again, like we said last night, guys, if the Gamecocks can shoot 45% or better and do a better job rebounding, I think they'll have a decent chance to win this ball game.
Well, I thought also that Carrera got into the teeth of the zone, that small gap right at the foul line, and he was successful in getting some points right there in the gap of the zone. In court time, you see, 21 made baskets and 17 assists, over 70%, I guess close to, about 72% of your baskets made on assists. That means guys are making the extra pass. Here's the key to South Carolina. It goes back to the mentality of a team. They were tied with Ole Miss in that game. They were literally blown out in the second half. So it's not like Ole Miss controlled that game in Oxford the entire game. It was tied at the half, and South Carolina, for whatever reason, panicked in the second half and got blown out. But here's the key to Ole Miss. If you get a lead on Ole Miss, especially if it's close, they will start to want to make 10 and 15-point shots, and they'll throw it up. So if you can get a lead on them, a working margin, you may be able to get into their heads, especially with about 5 to 8 minutes to go. So that's the key tonight. They got to stay in the ball game.
All right, let's catch up on some basketball going on tonight. Of course, here it's Vandy 38, Tennessee 32 at the break. In Greensboro, my goodness, Duke 46, Indiana State 20. That's late in the first half. Georgetown leads Creighton 31-25 in the Big East. Big 12, Texas leads Iowa State 36-25. Big Sky, Northern Arizona over Northern Colorado 16-12. And let's see what else is going on. Toledo leads Eastern Michigan in the Mid-American 45-40. Indiana up on Northwestern 49-38 in the Big Ten. St. Joe's and St. Bonnie 34 all in the Atlantic 10. Hampton in the MEAC leading Maryland Eastern Shore 69-62. Southland, Northwestern State over McNeese State 96-89. Sunbelts, Texas State, San Marcos. Where in the world is that? 56-55 over Texas Arlington.
Must be at the border.
Think they like tacos? Houston 66, Tulane 60. In the Pac, and that was in the American Athletic. In the Pac-12, UCLA beat Southern Cal 96-70. Bad season for the Trojans. Mountain West, Pam, Larry Chiat, they get it done. They beat Utah State 67-65. Wyoming 23-9. Larry trying to avoid the NIT for the 15th time. Hawaii in the Big West, beat Long Beach 79-72. In the WAC, Cal State Bakersfield over Utah Valley 55-40. That's gone final. I think that's everything that's happening as of now and has recently gone final. We mentioned the earlier finals from today. We'll give you details next week. Providence beat St. John's in the Big East 74-57. VCU beat Fordham in the Atlantic 10 63-57. But K-Mac, we've got plans for a Bracket Buster giveaway challenge this year, beginning next week.
Yeah, it's actually Bojangles, the Bojangles Bracket Buster, and we are passing along their information. We're going to be in their Bracket Buster. They're going to give away some prizes, some gift certificates to some of the top performers. You have an opportunity to see if you can beat Corn, which shouldn't be that hard, to beat Pro, which should be a lot harder, to beat Pope, which should be harder, to beat me, which should be very easy if past history is any indication. I normally finish near the bottom of these things. But we'll have that information coming your way soon where you can jump on board the Bojangles Bracket Buster.
All right. Don't forget, check out post-game coverage of the Gamecocks and Ole Miss tonight on our website, sportstalksc.com. You'll hear from the coach and the players there first. Check it out. Thank you, guys. Have a great night, everybody. And we'll see you tomorrow night here on Sports Talk.